And the number one mistake people make when it comes down to being an entrepreneur, particularly in year one, is not managing cash flow. Cash is king. Number two, the next biggest mistake people make is hiring the wrong people. Number three, I learned this a long time ago, which is knowing your sandbox, which basically means what are you selling and who are you selling it to? All right, today we're going to talk to you about some of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make in their first year of business. And as an entrepreneur who's made it and is successful, these are things that I've learned over the years, and I wish I knew them starting out. So I've created a little bit of a small list here. We're going to talk through them, and we'll talk through what some of the solutions are. So I've got, while there are a ton of stuff that we could screw up and mess up as entrepreneurs, and trust me, you're probably going to mess not only all of this stuff up, but you're going to mess up and make a ton more mistakes. But these are some of the main ones that I think are really important for us to focus on. So early days when I started in my business, I didn't start with investments and cash. I just started on a whim. I was actually thrown into this business in some capacity. And I never learned about money, particularly growing up. And it was only when I ended up taking over the business or became an entrepreneur, this is where I started to learn about money. And the number one mistake people make when it comes down to being an entrepreneur, particularly in year one, is not managing cash flow. Money is honey. Money is king. As Gary Vee says, money is oxygen for the business. And yes, when we talk about money, I'm getting more granular with this, which is really understanding your cash flow. What are your future expenses? Where are you going to be burning cash? Where are you going to be spending money? When are you expecting money to come in? And in a lot of cases, if you started as an entrepreneur and you've had some quick success early with some sales, this is even where you're in more danger, because you start to think that all of a sudden cash is going to be pouring in like this in the future. One of the things I'll talk about is, again, the sales strategy that starts to think about future planning for sales and sales cycles. But cash is king. And it was early days that someone once said this to me: you've got to be looking at your bank account every single day. And truthfully, early days for me as an entrepreneur, I was scared to look at the bank account. I didn't want to look at it because there was always something minus, right? Because back to what we're trying to do as entrepreneurs is we're trying to build up this business, and we don't manage cash properly, and we tend to spend it. All right, number two, the next biggest mistake people make is hiring the wrong people. What I used to do back in the day was I would hire you because I liked you. You were cool, I got along with you, I wanted to hang out with you, your resume said something along the lines that you could potentially do the job, and I looked past a lot of that, and I ended up hiring more my personal need and my personal relationship with people. Now, this creates two types of problems. Number one, if they don't perform, you're kind of setting them up for failure. And second, it now starts to stress that relationship. So, I think the other problem with hiring people is, as young or early entrepreneurs, we're very quick to hire for all the wrong reasons. In other words, one of the things that's really important for you as an entrepreneur is to be able to do a lot of this stuff yourself. And as quickly as we want to grow, we sometimes think that if we hire people and put them in positions, that's going to help scale the business. In fact, what's going to really screw up your cash flow is hiring all those people because you want to grow your business. You're trying to create work for them. So number one, don't hire people because they're cool. Hire them because they could do the job. And number two, just be careful about hiring for the sake of hiring. Number three, I learned this a long time ago, which is knowing your sandbox, which basically means what are you selling and who are you selling it to? Early days as an entrepreneur, I would sell everything and anything. In fact, a big mistake that we tend to take on is, or make, is we end up selling all the wrong things for the wrong reasons. In fact, I see this happening a lot in tech companies where they will sell future features or updates even though they haven't even started the development internally. And that just creates a block in planning and development and engineering, and it creates a lot of issues. So if that happens in a tech company, you can imagine how it happens in other industries as well. I know, back to problem number one, cash. So what are we trying to do as entrepreneurs, early days in our business, is generate as much cash as possible. And we think, oh my gosh, if I hire all these people, they're going to generate cash. And if I sell all these things to all these different clients, that's going to help as well. And all it does is create problems. In today's world, we talk about, from a marketing standpoint, we're like, know your audience, know your avatar. It's the same kind of exercise here. Who are you selling and what are you selling to? In other words, I have a client that sells financial services to banks. That's it. Just two banks. Now, there's lots of people within the financial industry or lots of different types of companies within the financial industry, but this company decided to sell this one particular thing, two banks, and they've been in business forever, and they're killing it. Four, schedule is king. People screw up in time management. Why do they screw up? Because they don't schedule things. Time management is one of the most important skills that you can develop as a CEO, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, right? We only get so much time, and if you use it wisely and you're productive with it, you're going to achieve a lot more. Now, my simple trick to that, and I've been doing this since day one, I don't create task lists. I don't create projects. What I do is I take items and I stick them in my schedule. It could be simple things like book this meeting, or call this person, or send this email. And it's that granular type of scheduling that gets me to do everything I need to do. Now, obviously you want to evolve that as well, which we'll talk about in a sec. Number 5, sales strategy, right? I never had a sales strategy as an early entrepreneur. I would just sell through pure guts and glory. You know, I had a lot of success in some months, and I thought the gravy train would just continue. And a mistake we make as entrepreneurs is we think that sales will continually come in. It's one of those old sayings, if I build it, they will come. This is not true. You have to have a really strong sales strategy that comes back to a little bit of your sandbox. And number 6, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, have an exit strategy, right? The worst thing you can do is leave your kids a business. That's leaving them a legacy, it's leaving them debt, it's leaving them a problem, right? You could leave them a financial stability, you could leave them a bank account. Exit strategy is important to understand because if you're going to start a business, you got to start to think about when that business lifetime is going to end or when your time within that business is going to end. And the worst part about that is as an early entrepreneur who's excited about your business, you probably don't want to be thinking about when you want to sell it or how you want to get out. But it's the ultimate plan in a lot of cases. So, some things to do, some real things to practice and to think about, some solutions. Number 1, as a young entrepreneur, get a mentor. Join a mentorship group, those peer groups. Join in network groups. Join an entrepreneurial group. Surround yourself with entrepreneurs, with leaders, with as many mentors as you can. If you have an opportunity to create a board of advisors, do that. I mean, you might not be able to pay them in the beginning, but at least treasure that relationship. Mentorship, guidance, advice, it's the most important thing. It's the one thing that I searched for early in my entrepreneurial career. Was getting a mentor. In fact, the first 3 years of me running this business, I was signed up for just about every mentorship group, working with any coach and any mentor I could. And to this day, I tend to follow that as well. Mentorship could also involve things like thought leadership and reading and really sort of, again, developing yourself, but be very careful about that shiny new thing. Every time you learn something, you want to beeline into your business and apply it. Number 2, sales strategy. Come back to what's my sandbox, who am I selling to, and what am I selling? And don't be afraid to start with just selling the one or the two things. Get really good at that and then build it up. What are my sales cycles? Now, in a lot of cases, you're not going to know what your full sales cycle is until you've gone through business for year 1, year 2. In fact, year 1 is a little bit of like a free-for-all, right? They say year 1 in business or starting business is easy, right? It's whether you can now get to year 3. Year 3, all right, we're working something, things are happening, and then it is from year 4 to 7 that we're actually making it. And the way you're going to make it is future planning, right? Where am I growing in markets? What am I selling? Where am I going? What's the future? And again, what's that market? Again, without knowing what we're selling and who we're selling it to and what the market conditions are and paying attention to that stuff, you're going to get caught behind the 8 ball because you're going to screw up in your sales cycle and you're going to find yourself without cash, back to problem number 1, and then we start to fall apart. Number 3, know your numbers, right? Back to cash is king, right? I had a friend who used to say, no money, no honey, right? It's the exact same with business. No money, no honey. Know your numbers. You're going to want to go to the bank and get a loan. You're going to want to get lines of credit. You're going to want to get credit with vendors and stuff. You need to have your numbers down. Treat your numbers, treat your cash. Look at this thing every single day. Your bank account, the way you're managing cash, it's a living, breathing thing. It's fluid, all right? Don't be looking at your numbers twice a month. Big mistakes people make is they sit down once a month to look at their bankly statement. right? Early days as an entrepreneur, get on that every single day. Particularly if you've got like investors as well and you're looking for future investors. Number 4, hire for future performance. Don't hire for today. Right? Hiring someone today to fix a problem, that's you just filling a pain point. That's you just being lazy. In a lot of cases, my next sort of point is do it yourself, that you're far better taking on that role, that responsibility, that task yourself before hiring. So, if you're going to hire people, this is what I look for. Relationship and connection is important, but I look for future contribution, future performance. Where does this person go in my company? What are they going to be doing? How are they going to be contributing to revenue, to bottom line, to scaling, to brand, to culture? What kind of team member are they going to be? How are they going to contribute to other people's well-being? Right? Do they add to all these things? We hear a lot about fit within an organization culture, but what we're really thinking about is where's that future performance and future relationship. Hire for the future, not for today. Number 5, do it yourself. As entrepreneurs, we sometimes think that, oh, I've started a business, now I'm a president or CEO, I'm going to hire someone to do this. Again, screws up your cash, you hire for the wrong reasons, you're hiring for pain, you're hiring for today, you're not hiring for future. So think about not just hiring for future, but can you do the job yourself? I've also always practiced this as well. I will never hire someone unless I'm able to do their job. Now, early days, that was a lot easier. Today, the business is a lot bigger, but I still try to learn every software that my team's learning. I try to get involved with just about every aspect of their job, so I know how to do their job. Maybe not as well as them, but I can maybe sort of keep up with them in a race. The other side is when you can do it yourself, you can actually contribute to coaching and developing and mentoring your people as well. And number 6, back to what we're talking about, schedule. Schedule, 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 schedule. Schedule is one of the greatest tools. It will be your best friends. In fact, if you hear some of the greatest thought leaders and authors and speakers today, they say a few things, and one of those things is how important your schedule is. We as human beings are not that disciplined. That's why you need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. It's the same exercise as you shouldn't hit snooze in the morning. You should just get up. In fact, I actually don't have an alarm clock in the morning. I wake up every single day, and that's just my routine at a certain time. Now, if we're not that disciplined as people when it comes down to hitting snooze, it's going to be the same thing with the schedule. The schedule forces us to do something. It forces us to take that action. So if there's a few things you took from this video, which obviously I want you to take all of it, but if there's a few things, this is one of them. Really lean into your schedule. David Meltzer talks about studying your schedule. Evan Carmichael, he talks about creating uninterrupted time and making sure that whatever he's scheduled, he can focus on in its entirety. As a young entrepreneur, you might not be able to schedule an entire day, but make sure that that schedule is one of the most important tools and things that you're not just studying, you're learning, but you're using. So, some common mistakes, some common solutions. We're going to be posting these videos all the time. We'll talk about entrepreneurship, mistakes, things to do, and we will see you next time. Hey, I'm Greg Witz. Thanks so much for coming and checking out the video. If you like that video, you're going to love the next one, so I'd highly suggest that you click this video over here. And don't forget to subscribe and share.